The alarm bells rang through the colony of New Portland. Captain Jake Morrison ran through the metal halls of the main building. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. People were scared. Children were crying. Adults looked worried. Jake reached the control room. Dr. Lisa Martinez was there, looking at her computer screen. Her face was pale. "How bad is it?" Jake asked. Lisa looked up at him. "The air machines are dying, all of them. The toxic storms outside are getting stronger. We have maybe 3 weeks before the air becomes poison." Jake felt his heart sink. 50,000 people lived in New Portland. They had come to this planet to build a new home. The planet was supposed to be safe after they fixed the air. But now their machines were breaking down. "Can we fix them?" Jake asked. "No," Lisa said. "We need new parts. Special parts that we don't have. And even if we had them, it would take months to get new machines working." Jake walked to the big window. Outside, the sky was orange and red. Thick clouds moved fast across the ground. The storms had been getting worse for weeks. The air outside could kill a person in minutes. "Send a message to Earth," Jake said. "Tell them we need help." "I already did," Lisa said. "But Earth is 20 light years away. Even if they send help today, it will take months to get here. We don't have months." Jake closed his eyes. He was the leader of these people. They trusted him to keep them safe. But he didn't know how to save them. 2 days later, something changed. A ship appeared in the sky above New Portland. It was not a human ship. The ship was strange looking. It had a round body with long, thin parts sticking out like insect legs. Jake and his security team met the ship at the landing area. The ship's door opened with a hiss. Out came a being that looked like a giant insect. It walked on 6 legs. Its body was covered in hard green shell. It had 4 arms and big black eyes. "I am HFY," the alien said. Its voice came from a small machine on its chest. "I am a trader. I heard your emergency signal." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Morrison. Are you here to help us?" "I am here to see what you need," HFY said. "Your people are in danger, yes?" "Yes," Jake said. "Our air machines are broken. The storms outside will kill us all soon." HFY moved its head up and down. "I know of these storms. They are very bad on this world. Your machines, they clean the air?" "They were supposed to," Lisa said. She had come to meet the alien too. "But they're too old. Too weak. The storms are stronger than we thought." HFY walked around the landing area. It looked at the orange sky. It watched the thick clouds. "Move. You need atmosphere processors, the big ones. And you need rare metals to make them work." "We know," Jake said, "but we don't have them. Earth can't send help in time." HFY was quiet for a long time. Then it said, "Come, I will show you something." They followed the alien to its ship. Inside, the ship was full of boxes and containers. Everything was very neat and clean. HFY moved to a big computer screen. "I am a trader," HFY said. "I buy things on one world. I sell them on another world. This is how I live." The screen showed pictures of machines and metals. There were numbers next to each picture. "These are atmosphere processors," HFY said, pointing at the screen. "The best ones. They can clean the air of any world. And here, these are the rare metals you need." Jake looked at the screen. "Can you sell them to us? We have some money. Not much, but maybe we can make a deal." HFY was quiet again. Its big black eyes looked at Jake, then at Lisa, then back at Jake. "You cannot pay for these," HFY said. "They cost more than your whole colony, much more." Jake felt hopeless. Again, "Then why are you showing us?" "Because," HFY said, "I am going to give them to you." Jake and Lisa looked at each other. They couldn't believe what they heard. "Give them to us?" Lisa asked. "For free?" "Yes," SciFi said. "For free." "But why?" Jake asked. "You don't even know us. We're not your people." SciFi moved its 4 arms. "Your people are dying. I have what can save them. This is enough reason." "But this will ruin you," Lisa said. "You said these things cost more than our whole colony." "Yes," SciFi said. "This will make me poor. I will have to start my business again from nothing." "But your people will live." Jake couldn't understand it. In all his years dealing with other species, no one had ever been this kind. Most aliens thought humans were weak and stupid. "Why would you do this for us?" Jake asked again. SciFi looked at him with those big black eyes. "Because it is right," the alien said. "Your people do not deserve to die. I can stop that from happening, so I will." Over the next week, SciFi worked with Lisa and her team. They took the atmosphere processors from his ship. They set them up around the colony. The alien showed them how to use the rare metals to make the machines work better. SciFi worked day and night. It never complained. It never asked for anything. When people offered it food, it ate only a little. When they offered it a place to sleep, it said it would sleep on its ship, that the machines started working. The air in the colony became cleaner. The toxic storms outside couldn't get in anymore. New Portland was safe. On the last day, Jake found SciFi getting ready to leave. The alien's ship was almost empty now. All its valuable things were gone. "SciFi," Jake said, "I need to say something official. As the leader of this colony, I declare that humanity owes you a debt of honor. If you ever need help, any human anywhere will come to help you." SciFi moved its head side to side. "This is not needed. I wanted no payment." "It's not payment," Jake said. "It's a promise. What you did for us, no one has ever done before. We will not forget this. Ever." "Your words are kind," SciFi said. "But I do not expect anything from you. What I did because it was right." Jake watched the alien ship leave. It got smaller and smaller until it was just a dot in the sky. Then it was gone, but Jake kept his promise. He sent a message to Earth. He told them about SciFi. He made sure the story was written down in the colony's official records. The name SciFi and what he did would not be forgotten. Lisa came to stand next to Jake. "Do you think we'll ever see him again?" she asked. "I don't know," Jake said. "But if we do, we'll be ready to help him, no matter what it costs us." 18 years had passed since the day SciFi saved New Portland. The small colony had grown into a big city. 2 million people now lived there. Tall buildings reached toward the sky. Ships came and went every day, bringing goods and people. From other worlds, Jake Morrison was now Admiral Morrison. His hair was gray, but his eyes were still sharp. He stood in his office, looking out at the city he had helped build. Sometimes he thought about the alien who had saved them all. In the central square of New Portland, there was a statue. It was made of metal and stone. It showed a being with 6 legs and 4 arms. Under the statue, words were carved in stone. SciFi, Savior of New Portland. But most people who walked by didn't know the real story. To them, it was just old history. Far away, on the other side of the galaxy, SciFi was working on his ship. He had built his business back up over the years. It had been hard work. He had been poor for many years after saving the humans. But he never felt sorry for what he did. Now he had 3 ships and a small crew. He was not rich, but he was doing well. He traded in rare metals and machine parts. Sometimes he thought about the humans he had saved. He wondered if they were still alive. He wondered if they remembered him. SciFi had heard that humans were becoming powerful. Their ships were seen in many star systems. Other species talked about them. Some said humans were dangerous. Others said they were just another young species trying to find their place in the galaxy. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded the human fleet in the outer parts of space. She was tough and smart. Her ships protected human colonies on dozens of worlds. She had heard the story of New Portland, but it seemed like ancient history to her. The galaxy was a big place, and there were many problems to worry about. Kate's ships were strong. Human technology had grown fast in 18 years. Their weapons could fight any enemy. Their shields could protect them from most attacks. Other species had learned to respect human power, but something was coming that would test everyone. Deep in space, ancient machines were waking up. They had been sleeping for 1,000,000 years. They were called the Devourers. Long ago, they had eaten entire star systems. They turned planets into energy to power their huge ships. The Devourers had been defeated once, long ago. The galaxy thought they were gone forever. But they had only been sleeping, waiting for the right time to return. Now they were awake. Their black ships moved through space like hungry beasts. They found a small planet with strange blue plants. In one day, the planet was gone. Nothing was left but dust and energy. The news spread fast. Species across the galaxy started to worry. The Devourers were back, and they were hungry. On the world of Kithara Prime, the insect-like people were having a meeting. Kithara Prime was a beautiful world with tall crystal cities. The Kithara people had lived there for thousands of years. They were proud and smart. They had never asked other species for help. Elder Vex then stood before the council. He was very old even for a Kithara. His green shell was marked with age. "The Devourers are coming," he said. "Our scouts have seen their ships. They will be here in days." The other elders made clicking sounds with their mouths. This was how Kithara showed they were upset. "We must fight," said Elder Quindle. "We have fought before. We can fight again." "Against the Devourers?" Vex then asked. "They destroyed the hegemony fleet like it was nothing. They ate the Zephyrian homeworld in one day. What can we do that they could not?" The elders were quiet. They all knew the truth. The Devourers were too strong, but asking for help was not the Kithara way. "We could run," said Elder Hexler. "Take our ships and find a new world, and let them eat our home?" Vex then asked. "This is the world of our ancestors. We cannot just leave it." In the back of the room, SciFi listened to the debate. He was not an elder, but he was respected. He had been successful in his trading business. He had seen more of the galaxy than most Kithara. "There might be another way," SciFi said. Elders turned to look at him. "Speak," Vex then said. SciFi moved forward. 18 years ago, I helped some humans. They said they owed me a debt. They said if I ever needed help, they would come." Some of the elders made angry clicking sounds. "Humans?" Quindle said. "They are young and weak. What could they do against the Devourers?" "I have heard things," SciFi said. "The humans have grown strong. Their fleet is large. They have new weapons." "Even if this is true," Hexler said, "why would they help us? You helped a few humans. That does not mean all humans will risk their lives for us." SciFi thought about Captain Morrison. He remembered the look in the human's eyes when he made his promise. "I think they will help," he said. "Humans are strange. They keep their promises, even when it costs them." "This is foolish," Quindle said. "We should not trust aliens to save us." "What choice do we have?" SciFi asked. "We can fight and die. We can run and lose our home. Or we can ask for help." Vex then was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "The Devourers will be here in 3 days. If you want to try this, you must. Do it now. Sci-Fi bowed to the elders. I will send the message. He went to his ship and turned on the emergency beacon. This was a device that could send messages across the galaxy very fast. It was only used in the worst emergencies. Sci-Fi thought about what to say. He had never asked anyone for help before. It felt strange. But his people were going to die if he did nothing. He started to record his message. This is Sci-Fi of the Kithara people. 18 years ago, I saved a human colony on Kepler 442b. The leader, Captain Morrison, said that humanity owed me a debt. He said if I ever needed help, humans would come. Now my people face extinction. Ancient machines, called the Devourers, are coming to destroy our world. If humanity truly honors its debts, I call upon you now. Please help us. He sent the message into space. Now all he could do was wait. On Earth, President Robert Hayes was having a normal day. He was reading reports about trade agreements and colony problems. Then his assistant came running into his office. "Sir," she said, "we just got an emergency message from the outer galaxy. It's about the New Portland incident." Hayes frowned. New Portland? That was almost 20 years ago. Yes. Sir, but the alien who saved them is calling in that debt. His people are about to be destroyed by something called the Devourers. Hayes leaned back in his chair. He had read about New Portland in the history books. It was a famous story, but it seemed like ancient history. "Get me Admiral Morrison," he said, "and find out everything we can about these Devourers." Within an hour, Jake Morrison was in the president's office. He looked older, but his eyes still had that same strong look. "Admiral," Hayes said, "do you remember an alien named Sci-Fi?" Jake's face changed. "I will never forget him. He saved 50,000 people and asked for nothing in return." "Well?" "He's asking for something now." Hayes played the message. Jake listened carefully. When it was over, he was quiet for a moment. "The Devourers," Jake said finally. "I've heard of them. Ancient machines that eat planets. They're supposed to be extinct." "Apparently not," Hayes said. "The question is, what do we do about this?" Jake looked at the president. "We help him. We promised we would." "That was 18 years ago," Hayes said. "You promised." "Not all of humanity. It doesn't matter," Jake said. "A promise is a promise. And this alien, he didn't just help us. He gave up everything to save us. He made himself poor to keep us alive." Hayes thought about it. Even if we wanted to help, what could we do? If these Devourers are as powerful as they say, sending a few ships might not be enough. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he said something. That surprised the president. "Then we don't send a few ships. We send everything." "Everything?" "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. We pay our debt in full." Hayes stared at him. "You're talking about risking our entire civilization for one alien." "I'm talking about keeping our word," Jake said. "About showing the galaxy what human honor means." The president thought about it. It was a crazy idea. But maybe that was exactly what made it right. The Devourer ships appeared at the edge of the Kithara system like black shadows against the stars. They were huge, each one the size of a small moon. Their dark metal hulls seemed to eat the light around them. There were dozens of them, moving, in perfect formation toward Kithara Prime. On the planet below, sirens wailed in the crystal cities. The Kithara people looked up at the sky with fear. They had fought many wars, but nothing like this. These were not ordinary enemies. These were ancient machines that had destroyed entire civilizations. Elder Vex Than stood in the council chamber, watching the enemy ships on the big screen. "How long do we have?" he asked. 6 hours, said the military commander. "Maybe less. Their weapons are charging up." They will start bombing the planet soon. Around the table, the other elders were silent. Their proud civilization was about to end. All their history, all their culture, would be turned into energy to feed the hungry machines. Sci-Fi rushed into the room. "Any word from the humans?" Vex then asked. "Nothing," Sci-Fi said. His voice was sad. "I sent the message 2 days ago. If they were coming, they would be here by now." Elder Quindle made angry clicking sounds. "I told you not to trust aliens. Humans only care about themselves." Sci-Fi felt terrible. He had given his people false hope. The humans he had saved were not coming. Maybe they had forgotten him. Maybe they didn't care about alien problems. "We should have run when we had the chance," said Elder Hexler. "It doesn't matter now," Vexton said. "All our ships together cannot stop even one of those monsters. We will fight anyway. We will die with honor." The Kithara fleet launched from the planet. 300 ships rose into space. They were beautiful ships, with curved lines and crystal weapons. But next to the Devourer fleet, they looked like insects. The battle began. Kithara weapons fired bright beams of energy. The beams hit the Devourer ships, but did almost nothing. The ancient machines didn't even slow down. They fired back with weapons that could crack planets. Kithara ships exploded in bright flashes. In 10 minutes, half the Kithara fleet was gone. The Devourers kept moving toward the planet. On Kithara Prime, people ran through the streets. Some were trying to get to the underground shelters. Others just stood and watched the battle in the sky. They knew it was hopeless. ZEPH single quotes HAI stood on the roof of the council building. He watched his people's ships die one by one. He felt like this was all his fault. He had told them the humans would come. He had been wrong. Then something strange happened in space. Reality seemed to bend and twist near the edge of the system. Space itself opened up like a door. Light poured out of the opening. Bright white light that hurt to look at. Ships began to come through the opening. Human ships, but not just a few ships. Hundreds of ships. Then thousands. ZEPH single quotes HA. I couldn't believe what he was seeing. The human fleet was massive. There were huge battleships with thick armor and giant guns. There were carriers full of fighter ships. There were ships he had never seen before. Strange designs that looked like they were built for one purpose: war. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Danny Cooper watched the Devourer fleet through his view screen. He was a tough man, with gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. He had fought pirates and alien raiders, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're getting signals from the planet. The Kithara are asking who we are." "Tell them we're here to pay a debt," Cooper said, "and get me a count on enemy ships." 47 Devourer vessels, sir. Each one is at least 10 times bigger than our largest battleship. Cooper smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Good. I was worried this would be too easy. Behind his flagship came more ships. And more. The human fleet kept coming through the space portal. 3,000 warships in total. Every combat ship. That humanity-owned the Devourers noticed the new arrivals. Some of their ships turned to face the human fleet. For the first time in a million years, the ancient machines seemed confused. They had expected to find a weak civilization. Instead, they found an entire species ready for war. On Earth, President Hayes watched the battle through satellite feeds. His advisors were worried. "Sir," one of them said, "if we lose this battle, Earth will have no protection. We sent everything." "I know," Hayes said, "but that's what honor costs sometimes." On Kithara Prime, Sci-Fi watched the human ships form battle lines. He couldn't understand it. These humans had traveled across the galaxy to help his people. They had brought their entire fleet. All of this for one old debt. Elder Vex then peered beside him. Your humans came, the elder said. They're not my humans, SciFi said. But yes, they came. Why? Vex then asked. Why would they risk everything for us? SciFi thought about Captain Narson's words from 18 years ago. Because they keep their promises. He said the battle started again, but now it was different. The human ships moved fast, using tactics the Devourers had never seen. Instead of fighting the giant ships directly, the humans attacked in swarms. Hundreds of small ships would attack one Devourer vessel from all sides. But even with all their ships, the humans were still outmatched. Devourer weapons could destroy a human battleship with one shot. Human weapons barely scratched the Ancient. Armor. Admiral Cooper watched his ships die. In the first hour, he lost 300 vessels. In the second hour, he lost 400 more. The Devourers were just too strong. Sir, his tactical officer said, we're losing ships faster than we can hurt them. At this rate, we'll all be dead in 6 hours. Cooper was quiet. Then he did something that shocked everyone on the bridge. He smiled. Good, he said. That gives us 6 hours to win this thing. Sir, send a message to all ships, Cooper said. Tell them it's time for Plan Omega. Plan Omega was humanity's most secret weapon. It was something they had never used before. Something they had hoped they would never need to use. The human ships began to change. Their hulls opened up, revealing strange devices inside. Energy began to build around each ship. The space around the human fleet started to glow. On the Devourer flagship, ancient computers tried to understand what they were seeing. The readings made no sense. The humans were doing something impossible. The human ships began to ram the Devourer vessels. But these were not normal ramming attacks. As each human ship hit a Devourer, both ships seemed to disappear in a flash of light. Then seconds later, the human ship reappeared, ready to attack again. The Devourers had never seen anything like it. Ships that could die and come back to life. Weapons that worked beyond death itself. SciFi watched from the planet's surface. He saw human ships sacrifice themselves again and again. He saw them come back from destruction to fight some more. The humans were not just fighting to win. They were fighting to pay a debt, no matter what it cost them. They're all going to die for us, he said to Elder Vex then. Yes, the elder said. All of them. They knew this when they came. Why? SciFi asked again. Why would they do this? Before Vex then could answer, something changed in the battle. The largest Devourer ship, the flagship of the ancient fleet, suddenly stopped moving. Its weapons went quiet. Lights began to flicker on its dark hull. Admiral Cooper's ship had managed to get inside the Devourer flagship. Cooper and his crew were fighting hand-to-hand with ancient machines in the corridors of the enemy ship. They were trying to reach the main computer core. Sir, Cooper's communication officer said through the radio, the ship is trying to self-destruct. We have maybe 5 minutes. That's 4 minutes more than we need, Cooper said. He was bleeding from cuts on his face, but he kept fighting. Forward, they reached the core. Cooper placed a special device on the main computer. The device would send a virus into all the Devourer ships. It would turn their own weapons against them. Tell my wife I kept my promise, Cooper said into his radio. Then the Devourer flagship exploded, but the virus worked. All across the battle, Devourer ships began to turn on each other. Ancient weapons that had destroyed planets now fired at their own fleet. The machines that had eaten civilizations were destroying themselves in 30 minutes. It was over. The Devourer fleet was gone. 47 ships that had seemed impossible to defeat were now just dust and energy floating in space. The human fleet had won, but the cost was terrible. Of the 3,000 ships that had come to help, only 400 were still working. 800,000 humans had died in the battle. On Cathara Prime, the people came out of their shelters. They looked up at the sky and saw the human ships still there, protecting their world. The Devourers were gone. They were safe. HFY stood in the council chamber with the elders. They were all looking at him. "You are right," Exton said. "The humans came. They kept their promise. They did more than that," HFY said. "They saved us all, and most of them died doing it." Elder Quendel, who had argued against trusting humans, was very quiet. Finally, he said, "We owe them everything now." "Yes," HFY said, "we do, and we will spend the rest of our lives trying to repay them." A message came from the human fleet. It was from one of the surviving captains. "This is Captain Steve Walsh of the human fleet. We have honored our debt to HFY. Your world is safe. We ask for nothing in return." HFY took the communicator. "Captain Walsh, this is HFY. Your people have done something incredible. You saved my entire species. You saved 50,000. The message from HFY reached Earth at the worst possible time. President Hayes was in the middle of a big meeting with the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of alien species were there to discuss trade agreements and border disputes. "Hayes?" Assistant whispered in his ear about the emergency message. The president's face went pale as he listened. When the assistant finished, Hayes stood up from his chair. "I'm sorry," Hayes said to the alien representatives. "We need to stop this meeting. We have an emergency." Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony made an annoyed sound. What emergency could be more important than galactic trade? "A kind where an entire species is about to die," Hayes said. He walked out of the room, leading the confused aliens behind Dot in his office. Hayes listened to HFY's message 3 times. Each time, he felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. An alien trader who had saved a human colony 18 years ago was asking for help. His people were facing extinction from ancient machines called the Devourers. "Get me Admiral Morrison," Hayes told his assistant, "and call an emergency meeting of the Defense Council." Within an hour, the room was full of important people. Admiral Jake Morrison sat at the big table, his hair now completely gray. General Amy Foster was there, along with Defense Secretary Paul Clark and Intelligence Director Linda Shaw. Hayes played HFY's message for everyone. When it finished, the room was quiet. "Well?" Hayes asked. "What do we do?" Secretary Clark spoke first. "Mr. President, with respect, this is not our problem. We can't risk human lives for every alien species that gets into trouble." "This isn't just any alien," Admiral Morrison said. "HFY saved 50,000 people. He gave up everything to help us." "That was 18 years ago," Clark argued. "And it was one colony. We can't base military decisions on old debts." General Foster leaned forward. "What do we know about these Devourers?" Intelligence Director Shaw opened her tablet. "Not much. They're mentioned in some very old records. Ancient machines that supposedly ate entire star systems. Most species think they're just legends." "Well, they're not legends anymore," Morrison said. "If they're real, and they're as powerful as the stories say, then we're all in danger. Today it's the Cathara. Tomorrow it could be us." Hayes thought about this. How powerful are we talking about? Shaw looked at her notes. According to the old records, they destroyed the first galactic empire. That was a civilization that controlled thousands of worlds. The Devourers wiped them out in less than a year. The room was quiet again. Everyone was thinking about what that meant. "Even if we wanted to help," Clark said, "what could we do? If these things destroyed a galactic empire, what chance do we have?" Morrison stood up. "Maybe none, But we promised we would try. You promised, Clark said. Not humanity. I promised. As a representative of humanity, Morrison said, when I told HFY that humanity owed him a debt, I meant it. Hayes looked around the table. General Foster, if we decided to help, what would you recommend? Foster was quiet for a moment. Sir, if these devourers are as powerful as the records suggest, a small force won't be enough. We'd need to send everything. Everything? Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. We'd have to bet our entire military on this one battle. Secretary. Clark stood up. That's insane. We can't leave Earth defenseless. We wouldn't be leaving Earth defenseless, Foster said. We'd be stopping the threat before it reaches Earth. Hayes turned to Shaw. What's your analysis? Shaw looked at her tablet. Again, the Kithara system is 12 days away at maximum speed. If the Devourers win there, they'll keep eating systems until they reach human space. That gives us maybe 6 months before they arrive here. And if we fight them there, we might stop them. Or we might just die 12 days away from home instead. Of here, Hayes sat back in his chair. This was the hardest decision he had ever faced. Send humanity's entire fleet to help an alien species, or wait and hope the Devourers didn't come to human space. There's something else to consider, Morrison said. The galaxy is watching us. Every species knows about New Portland. They know HFY saved us. If we don't help him now, what does that say about human honor? It says we're smart enough. Not to throw our lives away, Clark said. It says we don't keep our promises, Morrison replied. It says human friendship is worthless. Hayes thought about his own children. His daughter was in college. His son was just starting his career. If humanity sent its entire fleet away and lost, Earth would be defenseless. His children might die because of his decision, but if humanity didn't help and the Devourers kept, growing stronger, his children might die anyway. How long do we have to decide? Hayes asked. The Devourers will reach Kithara Prime in 3 days, Shaw said. If we're going to help, we need to leave today. Hayes closed his eyes. General Foster. How long would it take to mobilize the entire fleet? 6 hours, sir. I can have every ship ready to go in 6 hours. And you're sure we need to send everything? Sir, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. No half measures. Everything we have, or nothing at all. Hayes opened his eyes and looked around the table. We're going to help. Secretary. Clark started to argue, but Hayes held up his hand. This is not just about one alien. This is about who we are as a species. HFY didn't have to help us 18 years ago. He could have flown past our dying colony and kept going. But he stopped. He gave up everything to save people he didn't even know. Now it's our turn. Sir, Clark said, I have to officially protest this decision. You're risking the entire human race. No, Hayes said. I'm betting on the entire human race. I'm betting that when we fight for what's right, we can win. The orders went out immediately. Every human military base got the same message. Prepare for immediate deployment. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon was needed for Operation Honor Guard. Admiral Danny Cooper was in his cabin when the orders came. He was a tough man who had fought in many battles. He read the message twice, then called his officers to the bridge. Gentlemen, Cooper said to his crew, we just got our orders. We're going to the Kithara system to fight something called the Devourers. I won't lie to you. This might be a one-way trip. His tactical officer raised his hand. Sir, why are we risking everything for aliens? Cooper thought about how to answer. 18 years ago, an alien named HFY saved 50,000 humans. He didn't ask for anything in return. Now his people are going to die unless we help them. That's why we're going. But sir, the officer said, Even if we win, we might lose most of our fleet. Earth will be defenseless. Sometimes, Cooper said, doing the right thing is more important than being safe. Across human space, the same scene played out on hundreds of ships. Captains explained the mission to their crews. Some people were scared, some were excited, but all of them understood what they were being asked to do. General. Amy Foster stood in the main hangar of the military space station. Around her, soldiers were loading equipment onto transport ships. These weren't just regular soldiers. These were humanity's best troops, trained for the hardest battles. Foster's aide came up to her. General, some of the soldiers are asking questions about the mission. What kind of questions? They want to know why we're risking everything for aliens we've never met. Foster looked at the soldiers working around her. Most of them were young. Many had never been in a real battle. Gather everyone around, she told her aide. Within minutes, 5,000 soldiers were standing in the hangar. Foster stood on a platform so everyone could see her. I know you have questions, she said. You want to know why we're going to fight for aliens. The answer is simple. 18 years ago, one alien saved 50,000 humans. He didn't have to. He could have kept flying and saved himself trouble. But he stopped. He gave up everything to help us. She paused and looked at the young faces staring up at her. Now his people are going to die unless someone helps them. We could stay here where it's safe. We could let them die and hope the enemy doesn't come for us next. But that's not who we are. We don't abandon the people who helped us. A young soldier raised his hand. General, what if we all die out there? Foster smiled. Then we die keeping our promise. And the galaxy will know that humans keep their word, no matter what it costs. The loading continued through the night. Weapons that had never been used in battle were brought out of storage. Ships that had been in repair yards were rushed back into service. Humanity was preparing for the biggest military operation in its history. On Earth, families said goodbye to their loved ones. A mother hugged her son who was going to war. A wife kissed her husband who might not come back. Children waved at their parents through the windows of transport ships. But there was something else in the air. Pride. The people of Earth understood what was happening. Their military was going to honor old debt. They were going to show the galaxy what human friendship meant. President Hayes stood at his office window, watching ships launch into space. His assistant came in with a message. Sir, we're getting calls from other governments. The Galactic Council wants to know what we're doing. What are you telling them? That we're paying the debt. Hayes nodded. Keep telling them that. Sir, Ambassador, Veltar is demanding to speak with you. He says we're violating galactic law by moving our entire fleet without permission. Hayes turned F. The human fleet arrived at Cathara Prime, just as the Devourer ships began their final attack. Through the view screen of his flagship, Admiral Cooper watched the ancient machines destroying the Cathara defense fleet. The alien ships exploded like fireworks against the black metal hulls of their enemies. Sir, his tactical officer said, I count 47 Devourer vessels. Each one is bigger than our largest battleship. Cooper studied the enemy ships. They moved like living things, flowing through space with deadly grace. Their weapons could crack planets. Their armor had survived 1,000,000 years in the cold of space. Any regrets, Admiral? Asked Captain Walsh, his second in command. Cooper smiled. None. We came here to pay a debt. Time to pay it in full. The human fleet spread out in attack formation. 3,000 ships against 47. It should have been an easy victory for humanity, but the Devourers were not ordinary enemies. All ships, Cooper said into his communicator. This is Admiral Cooper. Today we fight for an alien who saved our people 18 years ago. We fight to show the galaxy what human honor means. Some of us will not go home, but all of us will do our duty. The battle began. Human ships attacked in waves, using speed and numbers against the massive Devourer vessels. Fighters swarmed around the ancient ships like angry insects. Destroyers fired missiles from long range. Battleships moved in close for heavy attacks, but Devourer weapons were terrible to see. Black beams of energy that could cut a battleship in half, waves of force that crushed human fighters like toys. In the first 10 minutes, Cooper lost 200 ships. On Cathara Prime, HFY watched the battle from the roof of the council building. Explosions lit up the sky as human ships died. He felt sick watching so many people die for his people. Elder Vexton came to stand beside him. "Your humans fight well," the elder said, "but they are dying." "I know," HFY said. "This is my fault. I should not have asked for help." "You gave them a choice," Vexton said. "They chose to come." In space, Admiral Cooper was learning that normal tactics would not work. His ships could hurt the Devourers, but not fast enough. For every ancient ship destroyed, humanity lost 50. Vessels. "Sir," his communications officer said, "Captain Rodriguez requests permission to try ramming attacks." Cooper thought about it. Ramming attacks were suicide missions, but they might be the only way to hurt the enemy enough to matter. "Permission granted," Cooper said. "All ships, this is Admiral Cooper. We're going to Plan Omega." Repeat, Plan Omega. Is now active. Plan Omega was humanity's most secret weapon. Every ship in the fleet carried a special device. It was experimental technology that had never been tested in real battle. Scientists weren't even sure it would work. The device could bring a ship back from destruction. Not the crew. They would still die. But the ship itself could return as an automated weapon. Fighting beyond death. Captain Maria Rodriguez was the first to try it. Her heavy cruiser was badly damaged, its hull cracked and engines failing. Instead of retreating, she pointed her ship at the nearest Devourer vessel. "This is Rodriguez," she said over the radio. "Tell my family I kept the promise." Her ship slammed into the Devourer at full speed. Both vessels exploded in a ball of white fire. For a moment, there was only empty space. Then something impossible happened. Rodriguez's ship reappeared, completely whole. The bridge was empty. The crew was dead. But the ship's weapons were still firing. The automated systems kept fighting. The Devourers had never seen anything like it. Ships that could die and come back. Weapons that worked beyond death itself. More. Human captains followed Rodriguez's example. They rammed their ships into the enemy, died in the explosions, then watched their vessels return to continue the fight. Ghost ships with dead crews, fighting for the honor of humanity. The tide of battle began to turn. Devourer ships that had seemed invincible started to take real damage. Ancient armor cracked under repeated attacks from ships that refused to stay dead. But the cost was terrible. 800,000 humans died in the first 4 hours of battle. Entire squadrons vanished in single attacks. Cooper watched his fleet shrink with every passing minute. "Sir," Captain Walsh said, "we're down to our last 1,000 ships. If this keeps up, we'll all be dead in 2 hours." Cooper looked at the tactical display. The Devourers were damaged, but not defeated. Humanity was running out of ships and people. "Then we better win in the next 2 hours," Cooper said. He made decision that shocked everyone on the bridge. "Prepare my ship for a ramming attack on the enemy flagship." "Sir?" Walsh stared at him. "That's suicide." "That's the job," Cooper said. "I'm going to take the ship right into the heart of that thing. While I'm doing that, I want every other ship to hit it with everything they have." "Admiral, there has to be another way." "There is no other way," Cooper said. "Sometimes the only way to win is to be willing to lose everything." Cooper's flagship was the largest ship in the human fleet. It was built like a flying fortress, with armor thick enough to stop any weapon. If any ship could survive ramming the Devourer flagship, it would be this one. The ship accelerated toward the massive enemy vessel. Devourer weapons fired at it, tearing holes in the hull. But Cooper kept flying straight at his target. All hands. Cooper said over the ship's intercom, "This is the Admiral. We're going to ram the enemy flagship. It's been an honor serving with you." The ship hit the Devourer vessel at tremendous speed. The impact was like two planets colliding. Both ships broke apart, pieces flying in all directions. But Cooper's plan worked. The explosion opened a huge hole in the Devourer flagship. Human fighters poured through the opening, attacking the ancient ship from inside. Captain Steve Walsh led the fighters into the enemy ship. They found themselves in corridors filled with strange machines and twisted metal. This was a ship that had sailed between stars for 1,000,000 years. The fighters fought their way to the central computer core. It was a massive chamber filled with glowing crystals and humming energy. This was the brain of the Devourer fleet. Walsh and his team placed special bombs around the core. These were virus bombs that would spread through the Devourer network. If they worked, every enemy ship would be infected. "This is Walsh," he said into his radio. "Bombs are set. 30 seconds to detonation." "Steve," came a voice over the radio, "tell my kids I was proud to fight beside you. Tell them yourself when we get home." Walsh said. The bombs exploded. Virus code spread through the Devourer network at the speed of light. Ancient computers that had calculated the destruction of civilizations suddenly turned against their own fleet. All across the battle, Devourer ships began firing at each other. Weapons that had destroyed planets now targeted their own allies. The machines that had eaten star systems were eating themselves. In 30 minutes, it was over. 47 Devourer ships were gone, destroyed by their own weapons. The ancient fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000,000 years was nothing but dust and energy. The remaining human ships floated in space, battered and broken. Of the 3,000 vessels that had come to Cathara Prime, only 400 were still working. Most of humanity's fleet was gone, but they had won. On Cathara Prime, the people came out of their shelters to see the human ships still protecting their world. The Devourers were gone. Their planet was safe. HFY stood with the elders, all of them looking up at the sky. "They did it," Elder Vexton said. "The humans actually did it." "Yes," HFY said, "but look at the cost. So many of them died." For us, a message came from the human fleet. Captain Walsh's voice came through the communicator. "This is Captain Walsh of the human fleet. We have honored our debt to HFY. Your world is safe." HFY took the communicator. "Captain Walsh, your people have done something incredible. You saved my entire species. HFY saved 50,000 of our people 18 years ago." Walsh replied, "We just returned the favor." "But so many of your people died," HFY said. 800,000 humans, all for an old promise. "That's what honor costs," Walsh said. "Admiral Cooper knew that. We all knew that when we came here." Over the next few days, the story spread across the galaxy. Humanity had sent their entire fleet to honor an 18-year-old debt. They had sacrificed 800,000 lives to save an alien species. They had defeated an enemy that had destroyed galactic empires. The other species of the galaxy looked at humanity with new eyes. These were not just another young race trying to find their place among the stars. These were people who would cross the galaxy to keep a promise. These were people who would sacrifice everything for their friends. The Cathara pledged eternal alliance with humanity. Other species began to ask if they could be friends with humans too. Everyone wanted allies who would keep their promises no matter what it cost. HFY visited the memorial It was built for the humans who had died. It was a simple monument made of black stone. The names of all 800,000 humans were carved into the stone. At the top, words were written in both human and Cathara languages. They came not as conquerors, but as friends. They paid their debt in full. As Zephaniah read the names, he thought about that day 18 years ago when he had saved the human colony. It had seemed like such a small thing at the time. He had just wanted to help people who were in trouble. Now he understood that no good deed is ever really small. HFY